All right, we're going to take notes on two artworks. So number 156 in our Unit 5 Indigenous American unit is Great Serpent Mound. This is in Ohio, and the culture or the tribe or the group of people is called Mississippian. So I wrote down people so that I don't confuse that with actual Mississippi. So I wrote Mississippian people, and then the year is 1070, and this is because of like carbon dating of the art of the earth. And then this is considered an earthwork and also an effigy mound. So I'm going to explain what those two things mean. All right, from a whole nother unit, this is from Unit 4. Go ahead and write down your identifying information on number 151. This is called Spiral Jetty, and this is in the Great Salt Lake in Utah. So it's another American work, not indigenous though. The artist is Smithson, Robert Smithson. And then this is 900 years after the Great Serpent Mound. So this is 1970. And then we have similar materials. So this is also called an earthwork. And then if you want to write down the specific materials, it's mud, salt crystals, rocks, and water. But if you just say earthwork, that would work. All right, so obviously some similarities here is these are both created with the earth. So I want you guys to write the definition on both pages of what an earthwork is. A large outdoor work in which the earth itself is the medium. You are sculpting in the ground and with the ground. The artwork depends on the location, like where it actually is, to render its full meaning. More so with Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty because we have more information about that piece since it's from 1970 versus 1070 with Great Serpent Mound. All right, here's where they differ. So what is an effigy mound compared to an earthwork? An effigy mound is a mound in the shape of an animal. So Spiral Jetties is just a spiral. What do you think the Great Serpent Mound, what animal are you seeing there? And here's kind of a aerial perspective drawing of what we're looking at. So the theory is that this is a snake, which is why it's called a serpent, and then its mouth is open, and then that's an egg it is swallowing. There's other theories, but this is the most common theory. So I would write this down for describing the form. I guess it's also the content, right? All right, here's another aerial view. All right, so if you look at this drawing, right all along here. So here's like the egg, right? So all along here is a cliff. Here's a cliff, and then there's a creek down below. So this is looking from down below, looking up. So if you were to climb this cliff wall, you got to the top of it, that's where that egg shape would be. So it goes right up against a cliff. I would write that in your notes. All right, what's that piece on the right? What do these two have in common? Stonehenge. All right, so both of these are considered earthworks, right? Sculpting with the earth. And what's the meaning of Stonehenge? What's the meaning of Great Serpent Mound? We have no idea. And both of these, there's no written records. Therefore, we don't know the function or the purpose. We can only hypothesize or guess, right? We do know that these are both significant or important sites because of everything being so labor intensive, right? Remember how far those stones were dragged from, and they're really heavy. Those were not from that area. They were quarried from very far away. And then the Serpent Mound took a lot of time and energy to sculpt the earth to look like this shape, this serpent, right? That's not natural. So because of that, it's important. We just don't really know why. Now, Spiral Jetty, we do know more about it because it's from the year 1970. So Spiral Jetty will change based on natural happenings. So if there's a drought, then the water goes down and it's mostly sand and you can kind of walk in the sand or the rocks. If it's a very rainy season, the water levels will rise and sometimes it'll cover the rocks completely. Here you can kind of see the rocks peeking out of the water. So the function, and think about this time, this is 1970. So this is when the first Earth Day was a thing. So the function is the artwork raises awareness about the environment. It's supposed to make you aware of your surroundings and the environment. All right, so because there's no written records, but we know it's somewhat significant, the main idea is that there is a celestial hypothesis or a celestial theory for the function of this work. And we're going to relate that again back to Stonehenge. Remember, Stonehenge aligns with the sun shining through the main stone, and then the sun hits that little purple heel stone. This happens on the summer solstice and the winter solstice. So there's the believing or the thinking there is that it's not coincidental, that aligned specifically for a reason. And then the same thing with Machu Picchu. This is the observatory, and the sun will shine through one window on the summer solstice and then another window on the winter solstice. And so again, they believe that is intentional, and this is for observing the sun's movements. So similar theories here. So this is from Khan Academy. They believe there is a celestial hypothesis. Aspects of both the zoomorphic form, zoomorphic means animal forms, and the unusual sight have associations with astronomy worthy of our consideration. The head of the serpent aligns with the summer solstice sunset, and the tail points to the winter solstice sunset. So let's go ahead and add that to our notes. Could be something of importance. Could this mound have been used to mark time or seasons? So that's a theory, perhaps indicating when to plant or harvest, right? And that relates to kind of like fertility of the earth. Likewise, it has been suggested the curves in the body of the snake parallel lunar phases or alternately aligned with the two solstices and the two equinoxes. There you go, more theories. All right. Here's some other theories about what we're actually looking at. So some have interpreted the egg or the eye shape at the head to be a representation of the sun. So maybe this is the snake like eating the sun, right? And lots of different cultures we know worship the sun. Perhaps even the swallowing of the sun shape could document a solar eclipse. We've all witnessed a solar eclipse, so we know exactly what that's like. Another theory is that the shape of the serpent imitates the constellation Draco. I didn't know that was a constellation. I just thought that was that creepy evil kid from Harry Potter. With the pole star matching the placement of the first curve in the snake's torso from the head. An alignment with the pole star may indicate the mound was used to determine true north and thus serve as a kind of compass. So these are all possible functions. Maybe it's a compass. Of note also is the fact that Halley's Comet appeared in 1066. And this was made 1070, right? Although the tail of the comet is characteristically straight rather than curved. Perhaps the mound served in part to mark this astronomical event. Maybe they saw this as something amazing, and instead of writing it out or drawing it out on paper or a mural or a fresco, they built it out of the earth to mark this amazing event. Halley's Comet is also documented in the Bayeux Tapestry, which was one of our early medieval or no, it was Romanesque, I believe. Okay. Overall, there are no burials or temples associated with this mound, so we can rule out that it was a burial site. There is the theory that snakes are associated with crop fertility. So the College Board has said that the Serpent Mound is related to the fertility of the earth and crop growth. So I would write that too, since the College Board went ahead and said that. All right, so it's easy to make some visual comparisons between Spiral Jetty and the Serpent Mound, but then another artist who's really inspired by not just great Serpent Mounds, but other effigy mounds that other people have created around the same time period is this artist. You guys remember? This was the first piece we talked about. So this artist is Maya Lin. She's still alive and working today. This was something that she designed when she was in college, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and it goes right into the earth, and it's supposed to be like a scar cut into the earth. And here's another artwork of hers. So she has said, "My affinity has always been towards sculpting the earth," she wrote in her autobiographical book. "This impulse has shaped my entire body of work." I'm going to show you another one of hers. Hang on. Okay, so here's another Maya Lin piece. So it says in this blog, growing up in Ohio, Lin was greatly inspired by the landscape of her youth. This piece, 11-minute line, is actually a direct response to the Great Serpent Mound, a prehistoric sculpture that sounds like it would be in Southeast Asia, but is in Adams County, Ohio. I thought this was interesting too. This also says, when Europeans were first exploring the New World and stumbled upon the Serpent Mound, they could not fathom that the Native American tribes were advanced enough to create such stunning structures in the earth. In typical self-absorbed fashion, these settlers claimed that earlier European explorers must have come over, built it, and then left. Those guys.